The Guru is live.
Good morning, it's Real Estate Daily with your guru, weekend edition. Wow, the weekend comes so fast. The weeks just fly by. Here we're already in the latter part of February. Things are flying by, and the markets, let me tell you, the markets are crazy hot. We got a great topic this morning. I get asked both as an attorney on this topic and as a broker on this topic. And I know as a broker, you get asked on this topic all the time. And that is, why can't I just go walk the property alone? I don't need you there. And I'll tell you what, everybody thinks the answer is because you don't want them to be there without you as the realtor. You got to be there to make the relationship, which part of that is true. Of course, we want to make the relationship, but that's not the reasoning sitting behind the question, why can't I walk the property alone? There are other things looming that we have to talk about sitting behind that. But first, before we do that, let's talk about liking the show. I love it when you hit the like button. If you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. It's very meaningful to us. Also, I love your comments. Probably more than anything that you can do is send me your comments about the show. Whether it's a question or a comment, or how about this? A request for a special show. We get comments about, can you do a show on a certain topic? And I love it because now it shows me that you're dialed in there with me. Really makes me feel good. So give me a comment, whether it's about the current show or whatever topic in real estate you want to talk about. I'll get back to everybody on their questions. Also in YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, which opens up the members-only events, the Guru members-only events that only subscribers can take a look at, where we take a deeper dive into the business, into growing your business directly. Okay, let's talk about why can't you walk the property alone? Well, how about this? It's trespass. And you say, well, how can it possibly be trespass? I've had people tell me, oh no, don't worry about it. I already went and walked the whole property, spent time on the property. Don't worry about it. And I'm just letting you know I'm thinking about writing an offer, and I don't need you there. I'm going to go walk the property again. Well, let me tell you something. The sign that says for sale is not an invitation to walk the property. Let me be really clear about this. The for sale sign, it says home for sale, land for sale. This piece of real estate is for sale. It's not an invitation to walk the property. You know what it is? It's an invitation to buy the property. It has nothing to do with walking the property. It's not an invitation for that. It's not a legal invitation for that. There's not a waiver allowing you to go out and walk the property. I know I'm going negative. It's a weekend edition, and I'm going negative on it. But the truth is, we hear this all the time. I know you hear it as a professional, and you need some ammunition to talk with your people about it. How do you talk to your clients about such a crazy topic when they say, well, all I want to do is just go walk the property. Don't worry. I'm going to have you write the offer. That's not the worry. Well, I'll tell you what the worry is. The worry is you're trespassing. We have to get permission. And so here it is. The sellers have not approved you. Just because there's a sign in the yard, the sellers haven't approved you to go and walk their property. They've given you an invitation to start a negotiation to purchase their property. So what's the difference? Well, it's a world of difference. The one difference, and I know you know this as a professional in the industry, the world of difference is one is a negotiation to actually purchase, and one is a negotiation to come and visit. Now, there is an assumed thing, an assumption going on. Let's be careful with assumptions. There's an assumption going on that you're eventually going to want to come and see the property and walk it and actually touch the property yourself. But you have to ask. Even as agents, we have to ask. Some of my clients say, well, what takes so long? Here's the 3 houses I want for a tour. Let's go. Well, hold on. I've got to go and set this up. I've got to go look at the notes. I've got to make sure what is going on, because people have property rights just as your client has property rights. Other people have property rights. Now, here's a big classification, a big condition that you can throw out there. Your license does not allow you to say, go walk the property alone. I know I'm going to make people mad on this. Give me some comments. Would love to hear from you on it. But your license, nowhere in your license does it say that you can give people permission to go and walk a piece of property without you. Your license allows you to go show properties after gaining permission. Even you have to have permission. Now, that permission may be applied through an MLS notes and documentation and program. Maybe there is a showing time program of some sort in there you can log into, and you're getting permission through an electronic means or a phone call or a text message or something, but you're getting permission. But your license to practice real estate doesn't automatically allow you just to say, let's go look at this string of homes and we'll just unlock doors and let you in anywhere. That is not what's happening. Oh, well, excuse me. It's the weekend edition. That isn't what should be happening. We had one just recently where someone went to show the property, didn't get permission, walked in. The person was just coming out of the shower. Pardon me while I slow down a little bit and sip a little coffee. You know, it's the weekend edition. I hope that you're taking some time this morning, enjoying the beauty of the weekend. We are in such a beautiful area. Take some time and just enjoy. Our topic this morning, though, why can't I walk it alone? Remembering that your license does not allow you to simply say over the phone, yeah, go ahead and walk it. I've heard people do this. So another thing that you can talk to the client about is, well, there can be hidden hazards on the property. Hidden hazards. All kinds of hazards. There can be holes on the property. There can be wildlife on the property that are not talked about, but in the private notes. There can be other things on the property. What am I trying to think of here? Good thing it's a weekend edition. For example, like horses, livestock, gates that need to be relocked or after you go through, which you should always lock. If you go through a locked gate, relock the gate. But in the notes, it talks about things like this. But other hazards on the property that you need to make your client aware, and you're another set of eyes for this. I can't tell you over the years how many people have told me, don't worry, I don't need you there. I'm going to go walk the property alone. I always say, stop. Please stop. You are trespassing. And the property owner will have the right to defend their property against trespassers. Now, they don't have the right of any kind of lethal force or anything. Come on. But they do have the right to make sure you're off the property. And people say, but there's a sign up. It said for sale. When did we ever get to this point that we felt like for sale was an invitation to go and walk the property? I don't get it. When did that ever happen? So what kind of hazards can be on the property? Well, there can be mine shafts. There can be caves. Yes, there can be mine shafts and all kinds of caverns on property. Even on inner city properties, there can be hidden hazards on a piece of property that people really aren't thinking about. And unless revealed, suddenly you can find yourself in great peril based upon that. Now, it's not just a threat about it, but let's be honest. We want people to be safe. We absolutely want them to be safe. What about uncapped wells? Is there a single year that goes by that we don't hear about someone who has fallen into a well? I mean, it's unfortunate. I don't want it to happen. But nearly every year, somewhere, someone ends up falling into an uncapped well. One moment while I sip another of the coffee. Uncapped wells. First, they should be capped. The first error is not capping the well. Okay, well, of course that should happen. However, if they are uncapped, it is absolutely a hazard. It's not something we're thinking about. What does an uncapped well look like? You just step up to a big hole in the ground? No, usually you're walking along and someone has thrown a piece of plywood over top of the well. That plywood, probably thin, maybe it's a 3/8 piece of plywood or something like that. No matter how thick it is, it's laid there for years. And in fact, it has dirt that's been gotten on it, and grass has begun to grow over the top of it. It may appear just to be part of the lawn. And what happens to plywood when you have the dirt and the grass and the moisture and years pass? There's rot. Of course, you all know this. I'm not uncovering some special thing here. There's rot, and you can fall through it. Now, hopefully, the homeowner knows of this and can alert people to it. I will tell you, for myself, the purchaser of many properties, one of the investment properties that we purchased in East Portland, we didn't even know of it. There was a hole in the backyard, and the hole was a cesspool. Now, it was hooked up to current city sewers. So we weren't even worried about it. But in a later inspection, years later, after we had remodeled the house, we had rented it for a while, remodeled it again, and then decided, let's go ahead and sell this house. An inspector at that period of time discovered that there was an old cesspool. I'm not talking about a septic. I'm talking about an old cesspool. A cesspool differs from a septic in this general way. Now, I'm not a septic professional by no means. I'm your real estate guru, but I'm not a septic professional. So a septic system has leach lines. It has the drain field. So it goes into a tank, and then the solids are there, and then the liquids go out to a drain field. A cesspool basically is a one-piece holding tank. Liquids and solids with holes in it that go out into the soil deeper. They still exist. They're still around. There's many of them still in existence today. We had one on our property. It had been abandoned, but we didn't know it. Luckily for us, nobody was injured, but we had to get rid of it. At that point, we had to do something about it. And, well, it cost thousands of dollars to get rid of the cesspool. But things like this are absolutely what you are there to help uncover and find out. Hopefully you've been put on notice, because no one's expecting you to go around with a stick and prodding the land. That's not expected. But in the private notes or having a conversation, particularly if you look at open land, are there any hazards to the land? That's something you need to be there with your client. Not only is it a trespass, but we're talking about a hazard situation. We're talking about a liability situation. And no, you cannot avoid personal liability by saying, go there without me. I give you my permission. I'm not going to be there with you. And in fact, your liability at that point, you've given permission where you are not allowed to give permission by the nature of your license, travels with them, because you've given a permission you can't even give. That's not good. You don't want that. We are here to build your career, not harm your career. We want to make sure you are aware of how to defend these crazy issues when they arise. So let's talk about water hazards like ponds, like creeks, rivers, and swimming pools. All kinds of water hazards. Now, swimming pools, they're often more visible. Often you can tell what's going on with the swimming pool. However, there are some swimming pools, and we were at one just last summer. You walk out the back door, and it's a flat walkway out the back door, the slider, and then just feet away is the swimming pool, and it's flat walking towards it. There was no definition of any kind of barrier to that swimming pool. Well, that by itself is certainly a hazard, and I would suggest probably banking it with a fence or some kind of barrier, at least for the home showing process, and make the broker aware and they did make us aware of the private notes on that particular one. So we were able to be there and let them know, hey, before you and your children start running out the back door on this house, as we're looking at it, there's a pool out there and it's a flat entry into it. So let's all be cautious with what's going on. But other water hazards like creeks, these things need to be called out. This is where your research, your acumen, your ability to look deeper into the property details, even beyond the listing notes. Oh, man. Here come the comments now. I'm telling people to look beyond the listing notes. Yeah, well, I'd love to hear comments on it. If you're going to go out to a piece of property, I believe it is reasonable research to look up the topography maps of, we're talking large raw land. It's reasonable research to look up a topography map and find out what is on that property. Particularly if you're talking about several acres. One moment while I sip a cup of coffee. You know, I love the weekend edition because we get to slow down and do different kinds of topics on the weekend edition. And there's a different feel to the weekend edition. It's a little more casual, although we know that Friday is the beginning of what we call the Realtor Week, because that's when we start showing all of our work is paying off from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, where we're dealing with clients and setting up tours and setting up open houses and all this kind of thing. And it just is fun. So we like to think about Friday as the opening of the week, because the opening of the week begins the fun of showing and writing offers. All right. Water hazards. It's hard to say enough about water hazards because there's so much out there when it comes to the water hazard problem. So creeks. Yes, you should know about creeks. And before you go down there, you need to have a conversation with your client. What are the problems with the creek? Are there children with you? But whether there's children with you or not, what are the adults? Who are the adults? What kind of ability do the adults have? I mean, for me, for example, I'm blind. I could easily stumble into something. someone may need to help me and be aware to let me know, hey, there's a creek right out there. Careful before you stumble into it. We're just trying to keep things safe for people. Ponds, the same thing. Now, ponds often can be a silent hazard, where the creek, you may hear the little babbling of the brook or something going on with it, or the pond can be very, very quiet and just sitting there. And you can go out there and just stumble upon a small pond. All right, let's overlay this with hunters. Now, the wonderful hunters of the world, and I support them. I absolutely believe in the hunting process. But hunters need to know where they're at. Just because you have a hunting license does not mean you can go on private property. Now, I know you hunters out there know this. You throw me a comment in. I know that you know this. There's no question. But there are some amateur hunters out there that think they got themselves an angler license and they can simply go across other people's land. That's trespass. Whether it's for sale or not, it's still trespass. And your angler license doesn't give you the right to cross something just to get to that river. You need to find the access point for acquiring that. And you could, I've heard people say, well, the property was for sale, so it was no big deal. That has nothing to do with being able to cross the property, and your hunting license doesn't give you that right to simply go and cross the properties. That's tough. But hunters definitely have a special problem because they are out in the wilderness and they can stumble upon all kinds of things. So really, at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is risk of injury, risk management, liability to you, avoiding liability for you as the professional, and avoiding liability and injury to your client. I mean, what a terrible way to lose a client than have them injured on a piece of property that you went to show them. And even worse, you told them over the phone, yeah, go take a look at 123 Main Street. I've even heard people give the code out. I've heard of this. I've actually heard it happen, and I would have stopped them. I've heard them give the code out to people and say, go let yourself in, the home is vacant. Unless it's set up in another process, your license does not allow you to do it. You can't give someone the code and sit in the car or stay in your office and say, go look at this empty home. That's not how it works. And you can't stay in your car or be in your office, or in your office might be at home, and say, it's a 5-acre piece of land. There's nothing there. Go and walk the property at your own risk. The risk comes back to you. It absolutely comes back to you. You need to be there. Your license is to be with the client, showing the client all these things. That's hard. I know the comments today are going to be fun to read, and I look forward to reading all of your comments when it comes to things like this, because it's tough. This is a tough topic. Okay, let's get to our final thing here. Who's looking? Because people will say, well, no one's seen me go out there. There's eyes everywhere now. There always has been. But now we have cameras, and cameras can be in the wilderness. They can be everywhere. It's amazing. The neighbors are the lookouts. Neighbors are watching. The neighbors are looking. They're taking notes as to what's going on. You think, oh, well, no one's seen me go on the property and take a look at something. There's this wonderful case. Well, I shouldn't say wonderful case. There was a case where a realtor went to a home, And the home was a foreclosure. This is a few years ago. Home was a foreclosure. And the realtor went to the home. Of course, it's empty. And they needed flowers for a funeral they were going to. And they snipped the flowers off the side of the house. Well, the people that were purchasing the house were very interested in those wonderful roses. And the neighbors seen it happen and reported it back to the bank, and the realtor was sanctioned for it, and the realtor owed damages because of it. Who's watching? The neighbors are watching. The neighbors are the current lookouts. And the neighbors can have cameras. We are in a day. I need to do a show on cameras, as cameras nowadays are kind of crazy, as they are everywhere. I have cameras on my house. I have cameras on my business. I have cameras on my cabin. There's cameras all over the place. We were selling someone's property just recently that had 9 cameras around their home. And they were the old-fashioned, kind of a larger camera. And we said to them, people are going to ask. I'm not telling you to take your camera down, because they were in what they call the riskier area of town, even though I didn't view it that way at all. But they said, we're not taking our cameras down. But sure enough, people were asking, why all these cameras? What's going on? And it became a problem in the sale because people seen it. And that can certainly be at least part of the negotiation. And when we finally got offers in to sell the house, people wanted the cameras, and the homeowner didn't want to leave the cameras. But of course, it became part of the negotiation. Okay, so can you walk the property alone has been our topic for today. And the answer is no, you can't tell people to go walk the property alone. Your license doesn't allow for it. And you want to be there. Part of this business is a relationship business and learning about your client. The best thing that you will ever do is learn about the motives of your client. Get into the head of your client and create a relationship. That's what you want. You don't want to be the person simply sitting back and writing some nebulous offer that you know nothing about. How do you make that offer sweet? You learn about your client. You understand about your client, and you understand the motives of your client so you can craft that offer very specifically. Walking the property alone, not a good idea. You can't tell people about the property. You can't give them the history of what's going on. And certainly, you're not creating the relationship that you should be creating. Hey, this is your Real Estate Daily with your guru, weekend edition. I'll be talking to you very soon. Like us on social media. Follow us on social media. Give us your comments about the show. Give us your comments about future shows. And don't forget to go to YouTube. And the link is right down here. The YouTube link. Go to the YouTube link. If you're not watching the show on YouTube already, go to the YouTube link and hit subscribe. It costs you nothing to hit the subscribe button. And that will open up the Guru members only events for you. Also, next link right down here is our Kickstarter link, which is our course to build your business. We have one-on-one coaching, and we have a course for you to go through that will build your business bigger than you could have ever imagined it to be. Let's build your business together. I'll be talking to you soon. Take care, guys.